I'd like to start by acknowledging that we are broadcasting the Raising the Vibration podcast from the lands of the Wurundjeri people of the Kulin Nation and pay my respect to the elders past, present and emerging. I acknowledge all Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people turning into the podcast today, and I'd like to celebrate the rich history of over 60,000 years of culture. Our next guest needs no introduction, an absolute legend of the house and techno music world, but someone who has made Australia his home over the last while. Carl, how the hell are you?
Well, I'm all right. I'm good. I'm here after all these years, but of course enjoying Peninsula life here in Melbourne.
Yeah, you mentioned Peninsula life. I mean, it's definitely something that people wonder about. You could be living in like a penthouse in New York or on a beach in Malibu or on the Champs-Elysees, but you have chosen Frankston.
Yeah, Frankston, Afghanistan, you know, all sorts of names it's been called. I've always seen it as a place of beauty, and especially when you go up to Oliver's Hill and you look back and you just see the coastline going round to Beach Road, and you keep following it round, and you actually get to CBD, which is the Melbourne City, on a clear day, of course. That's the thing that done it for me. Yes, Frankston, but you go up the hill to going towards Mount Eliza, and then obviously on to Mornington. It's beautiful. It's a really nice place to be, and where I actually live is Frankston South.
Oh, that's a posh bit, is it?
So it's a little bit posher than Frankston as a whole, but it's all to do with being comfortable.
Yeah.
And I could be living anywhere in the world, and I have been basically I've had homes in Spain, and Los Angeles I was going to actually stay as well, but it's just something about being here that's kind of driven me to be here all of the time. And it was when I had a hit record out in 1991 with Paul Oakenfold's record label Perfecto Records at the time, and a track called I Want You Forever.
Yeah.
But on Triple J radio here, it was a hit record here, so it was an opportunity for me to come over and support the record release, and for people to know, they knew I was DJing at a lot of the rave events and a lot of the dance parties back in the UK, but I had this opportunity to come here in Australia and to basically play here. And I found all the time that I was kind of visiting Adelaide, or I was going to Brisbane or the sunny coast, or any of these places, that Melbourne was the thing that I kind of fell in love with, as a place to be, in a sense of its culture, in a sense of how people are here in Melbourne. It was always a burgeoning city. I think I was here when they just built the casino, and that was the highest building, and now that's the smallest building, and everything else has grown up around it over the last 28 years or something. So I've come in at the cusp of things that were really happening in Melbourne. From its restaurants and comedy clubs and the arts and all the designers, the buildings going up and everything that's happened there over the years. And of course the music has always been the kind of strain of what people have enjoyed throughout, whether they're festival events, whether they're avant-garde events, or whether they listen to funk and soul music on the beach or parties in the garden. It's just lovely to be able to enjoy all the aspects of being here in Melbourne. And I don't think I would have had the same kind of ideal if I was living in Los Angeles, or living in Berlin, or I was living in Singapore, or even living in Spain, because all the time I was in Spain, I was kind of technically working, especially in Ibiza.
Yeah.
I couldn't really relax in Ibiza. It's not, and lovely as that place is, I always found myself working.
Yeah.
So it's to get away from that. At the end of the day, I thought, well, Melbourne is quite far. So,
of course.
I couldn't be anywhere further. But also, I've always been chasing the sun, the summer sun, the heat.
Yeah.
So I'm always here from October. I was always doing the festival events and everything around about that time into the Christmas and New Year's. Yeah. Even though it's 32 degrees on New Year's Day or more.
Different to Manchester.
Definitely opposite to what it's like in the UK. But I've always chased that for the last 14, 15 years that I've been here now. It's difficult for me to change the ethos of why I'm here. I really do feel relaxed at a part of Australian culture life.
Amazing. And how did you find, how did you come across Frankston as a destination where you thought, this is where I'm going to, this part of Melbourne is where I'm going to actually settle down?
Well, actually, I did a record around about 91, 92, and John Course is a Peninsula boy. He comes from the same
Legend
area,
in Melbourne.
from here, and I had the opportunity to create a record while I was here for a couple of days, and I was always staying in St Kilda all the time that I came here to tour and to spend time here in Melbourne, and I didn't realise that the beach road would bring us to Frankston. So I jumped in this car and it's go to my studio, and like 45 minutes later I think, where are you taking me? So eventually we ended up on the peninsula. I was like, peninsula? I said, what's that all about? And it took me as far up as Portsea and everything. I'm just like, wow, this place is cool. Why didn't anyone tell me that this was here? And so I kind of came here indirectly when I first came to produce the record with John, and that was for Vicious Vinyl Records at the time, and it became a hit record and all sorts of things. So, and you can see that it was all produced from the peninsula, from where he comes from. So I was kind of here by default to begin with, and then Eric Powell, and his then wife Victoria. Now he's got 2 kids here, 3 kids in all. One of them was born in Manchester. He lives in Mount Eliza. So I thought, well, if I was going to basically have someone that I knew here very well, pretty much so, that could help me, find my house and the area that I would like to live in and everything. And then Eric was the one that said, come down and check it out, see where you think of being here. And I took the opportunity to do that. Some other people that I know were saying, oh no, you want to be in Brighton North, you want to stay near Toorak, you want. I'm like, this is a bit of a different style. Then I'm kind of used to, because obviously it's a different story of being near the city. We've been in those type of places.
Totally.
It's a lot more money, of course, as well. And some of those houses are ridiculously expensive, but it's a completely different style. And I didn't really want that, so I kept going.
Of course.
Kept going, come through Seaford, keep going, and eventually found myself really enjoying this area, and some of the houses that we found in the area were just outstanding and really lovely. And then eventually I found the house that suited what I would like to have, and eventually I found myself buying a house in Frankston South. It's quite weird where I am, because as I come up the hill from Oliver's Hill from Frankston itself, the city, you go up the hill and literally roughly about a mile up on the left hand side, you kind of turn in from Mount Eliza to Frankston South.
Yeah, right.
So and then you go up the road, and then it's still Mount Eliza until you turn into my road, and it's Frankston South again. So as much as I wanted that Mount Eliza address, it wasn't going to happen.
Awesome. And now that you've settled here, one of the things that seems to have caught fire a lot on your social media lately is your amazing veggie patch. You've got Coxie's veggie patch out the back of your house. How long have you had that in the go?
Well, to be honest, that veggie patch has been there for about 10 years, and we basically resoiled my garden. When I first built my garden, when I first bought the house, the first guys that basically put all the indigenous plants in and everything, the house is actually built on clay.
Yeah, right.
So nothing grows in clay, as you know, and it's very very hard as soil for anything to go through, and obviously plants need really good feed and good soil. So I had to excavate my whole garden to get really good topsoil in, so if I replanted everything, then they will start to grow.
Yeah.
So that's what I had to do to begin with. It was a lot of time and a lot of effort to get that done. So we did that at the back of the garden. We took the clay down, resoiled it. I said that would be really good for a vegetable patch garden and a herb garden at some point.
When was this? How long?
So that was probably 2009.
Yeah, right. 10 years later, it's still.
Yeah, and the thing is, every year I come in and out.
I'll get to it next year.
Yeah, we have a really awesome place here called Tully's, and they do the freshest vegetables that you've ever seen. And when you go to that marketplace and you see all those things, you don't want to grow your own. It's embarrassing. Yeah. They got carrots this big and cabbage this big and onions this big and everything, and yours come out like. Yours come out like this big, carrots like that big. So I'm not going to go up against them in any way, shape, or form. But it was since we came into lockdown and everything. I thought, you know what, I'm not going anywhere, so why don't I just see and try and grow something in this vegetable patch which we set up. And so yeah, a friend of mine, gave me some broad bean seeds and some carrot seeds and spring onions, parsley, thyme, got mint growing there at the moment, leeks growing there at the moment. But at the time we were locked down and everything in March, the weather wasn't so good. It was cold and raining. So as you know, many vegetables don't grow in that environment because you need the sun, the heat, and the moisture for the plants to react. So it took a while. They all stayed quite small like this. I'm thinking they're never going to grow. And then once they do grow, then you got these little millipede things that just chew all your plants up.
I heard you say on one of your videos that the basil kicked the shit out of your millipede. The millipedes kicked the shit out of your basil.
Yeah, I can see it every day. Just getting chomped and chomped. And I can see the little bastard millipedes. I'm just like, I'm getting annoyed. You know what I mean? Because I've got to start trying to protect my plants. It's kind of like they need to have a chance to grow into something. That you would like to see happen. Anyways, so once I got the control on the millipede situation and everything, and the ants as well, my God, and the white butterflies.
Why? What damage did they do?
They just chomp away at your roots and they chomp away at your stalks and everything. There's not much you can do actually apart from garlic powder water.
Really? There you go, Coxie's vegetable tips. There we go.
So you get not real garlic.
Does that just keep them totally away?
Yeah, they don't like it, so they just go away.
Yeah, right.
If you don't kill them in any way, shape or form, they're just not around when you've got that much going on. So you get
it's like having bad breath.
Yeah, you just go. What do you plant? The plants love it, and ants hate it.
Really, that's awesome.
Yeah, I was thinking to myself, how am I going to get rid of these bloody ants? And then I saw that this lady was like, garlic powder, garlic water, buy real garlic and everything, and you just spray it, and it's all natural, so it's all so it's all good, nothing gets killed. But meanwhile, my plants did stood a chance to grow. And the one that's grown the most, but beets have actually started to really grow very, very well. The mint grows anyway, like you can't believe, it's just crazy. My thyme is fantastic. That really has, and I use a lot of thyme in a lot of my cooking. I have to say the broad beans are the one that surprised me because they do take a little bit of help because obviously they grow quite tall, so you need to then put bamboo sticks in and make sure they're grown up in the right way. And we've had, and in Melbourne, as most people would know, that you get 4 seasons in one day. Yeah. And so the wind is the thing with my bamboo and they're like this. I did lose half my crop actually, where one of the roots of the bamboo, when I put the stick in the bamboo, I didn't put it on the right area and it broke off at the end. So I lost about 10 of them. Yeah. That was my full crop at the time. I'm like, oh my God, how am I going to make money when I'm losing my crops this way? So I was like, damn, I can't believe that's happened. And anyway, another stalk has grown and it grew back. And then only the other day, I looked out and could they actually flower? Yeah, right. First. And I thought, oh, that's nice. Got a little flower at the end, But in the flower is where the beans grow. Yeah, right. So I've got all this flower. And eventually, you can see green. So they really started quite small. And I thought, it's actually happening. Yeah. So every day, I'm just looking after all of the plants. But this was just something I was just like, wow. Okay, so let's see how far I can take them before I pull them off, and then to start to make something with them. And they literally grew about that long. They're quite big. That's crazy. Yeah. And I never thought that would ever happen. And then the other day I went online and I was really happy with my broad beans, and I said, look at this, since I've been here on lockdown and everything, I've managed to grow broad beans and they are really nice, fresh, raw. You can just take it straight out, you can eat them, delicious. They've got a little sweet taste to them. There's so many things you can make with broad beans. Have you made anything with them yet? Not at the moment, no. I've just kind of collated them and I went online to see, to give me some sort of ideas on what to do with them, and there's some amazing ideas of what to do with. But I think I'm just going to make a broad bean dip from them. Yeah, cool. Nice and easy, and just juice them up and make some sort of taste out of them. So I can actually get some crackers and go, this is Coxie's broad bean dip, and just get into career change. Yeah. I think there's something so rewarding about cooking with the stuff you've made in your own garden. It's just going to taste better, Yeah, 100%. And that's the thing about it. It's kind of nice to know that you can go to the garden garden, and you can pick up your parsley or thyme or your rosemary, all these things that you would normally go to the shop to go and buy. One of the things that I decided to plant is in my back garden. And if it isn't there, then of course go and buy it. But it's kind of nice to know that you can actually live off the land if you choose to do it.
Will you try the basil again, or are you going to leave that to the millipedes this time around?
The millipedes are not going to have a chance with my basil.
And on the subject of cooking, another thing that's been a bit of a hit for you this year has been your banana bread.
Yeah, that was a major hit. I just cannot believe.
How did that come about? Tell us.
Yeah, I cannot believe how much attention that I got on the banana bread. And everyone knows calories-wise, it's not that great, and sugar-wise. But, anything that tastes that good is that bad, of course. But it was amazing because I haven't been perceived to be someone that bakes, obviously.
Yeah.
Because I'm always DJing and playing here after parties, all this sort of, being out all the time. How does one have time to make banana bread? Well, have a pandemic and COVID-19. You can't go anywhere. You're on full lockdown. So you know what? Anything that's in your cupboard that could basically make banana bread, and then for sure go for it.
Yeah.
And that's all I did. I actually went in and I actually went for it. I had all the ingredients, and I was just like, I've got enough butter, I've got enough sugar, brown sugar, I've got enough eggs, I've got enough, bananas have to be kind of more or less going off, so they taste a bit sweeter, but also easier to manipulate once you've started to making the mix for it. All of this stuff, and I was just kind of like, just going through the recipe, and I was like, and it really came together when I actually made the mix, and then I put it in the tray and then put it in the oven for just under an hour, and it came out golden brown, nicely raised, perfect, and the smell was delicious and everything. And I just got the camera out and I just showed people what I'd done, and then I cut it and I ate it and everything. I was like, oh, this is delicious, and that was it.
Yeah.
And I put it up online, and it just went viral.
Yeah, crazy.
Cox's banana bread. And I was like, oh my God. And then what was really nice to see that the reaction from people was really wholesome,
Yeah.
They really felt that at the end of the day, you're suffering indoors, I'm suffering indoors too.
Yeah.
But this gives everyone a little bit of hope, to know that you can do exactly the same thing what I've done. It doesn't take much in some ways to, even if you've never done it before, give it a go. And that kind of niceties about.
And Carl, it sounds like as well, it was just like you happened to have this stuff lying in your cupboard. It wasn't like there was a huge amount of effort to go and get it.
No, and it's been in there for years.
Hopefully the bananas weren't.
No, the bananas for sure. But it's been there for years, and I was just thinking to myself, you know what? This is a really good time to go through the cupboard and to see what I can make while it's in there. Because when I got back from America, I was on an American tour at the time, and the whole kind of pandemic started in America, and I had an opportunity to come back to England or to come here in Australia, and I decided to come back to Australia. Nobody was ready, in my house to get any shopping in or anything, and everyone was going mad about hand sanitizer and toilet rolls. I'm like, what's happened here? So when I was away, Eric Powell, he said, listen, you need to go and do some shopping, and I was like, well, I can't go out because everyone's locked down. I said, yeah, don't worry, go on the Coles website, register, and then get everything you need. So by the time you turn up, you'll get everything delivered to you. Anyway, that week, they said that Coles, they're not going to have any Coles delivery. So I literally had no food in my house, and no one could come round to cook anything for me or anything, apart from my neighbours who have been absolutely fantastic. Because I knew I had to self-quarantine for 14 days, and I can't get anything in. I've only got whatever I've got in the cupboard, and I was just like, wow, this is a scenario. I can't order pizzas, I can't do anything. No one's moving or doing anything. So, it was a great reflection in what I have around me.
Yeah.
And I think that, in some ways, it kind of drove me to do something positive, and to basically grow something in my garden, which is probably one of the easiest things to do, one of the hardest things to maintain. It's one thing about planting something. The next thing is about looking after those plants. Even when they go full term, there's lots of weeds that come around them and everything else like that. It really is like looking after a pet.
Totally. I guess it's like a life skill as well. It's good to open your mind to learning about how to manage something that needs an ongoing care, and And there's something nice as well about watching things grow. I think, you know, it just every day it gets a little bit bigger. And
yeah, I mean, I'll go up. My ritual is kind of getting up. I go to the kitchen and I grab an orange juice or whatever, and then I sleepy-eyed still, you know. I go around in the back garden, you know, and I see how the poor old plants are doing.
talk to them.
You know, how's it going today? You know, you all right? Yeah. Oh, you're a little bit wavery, you know. Let's get you back up again. You know, and the leeks are turning up, and then I'll get you out. I'll get you out with that plot. That I've got them in a plant plot at the moment. My leeks. I've got to get them out and put them into a bit wider space because what happened was a friend of mine gave me the leeks, and they were quite short and dying, and I thought, I wonder if I could save them and revive them, you know, and they did.
Mouth to mouth.
Yeah, they come back, and I started stroking them every day, you know, to make sure they've got enough moisture on them. But they really are growing. It's amazing. I've never had this before.
Yeah.
You know, it's something of which, I mean, people all over the world have their allotments and have their farm, and they farm all this stuff all the time. And I get how people get so into growing things.
Totally.
A friend of mine that grows lots of chilies, really into growing chilies and tomatoes and that kind of thing. And I'll try them at the moment, but I don't want to be. I don't want to have juggling too many things around.
Yeah.
I want to try to be jack of that trade and the jack of that trade, and then eventually I'll go onto tomatoes and chilies.
Cool. And another I guess trade that you've got and you're pretty well known for is your cars and like your motorsport team as well. How did that come about? Was it something that as a young boy you wanted to own a motorsport team, or was it something that organically happened?
It really organically happened. I've always been into racing. I've always been into cars.
Were you a mechanic at one stage?
Yeah, I went to college for motor mechanic course and passed that, and I did see myself as a motor mechanic. I've always been into fast cars, fast motorcycles, and racing. I've always been into it, and I used to watch a lot of racing. Sidecar racing for me was something of which I kind of really enjoyed watching because of the synergy between two people. You know, getting a bicycle, a motorbike, and a sidecar attached to it, going around these bends. You know, one's hanging off and for the weight and distribution, and then they get on the other side of the saddle, and they're both in it together when they go down the straight. It takes a lot of effort to do that, and you need some quite big nads to hang on. You know what I mean? For dear life, doing that kind of sport. I remember going to Brands Hatch many years ago in the 70s and watching that happen. And then I basically was always tuning in, watching the Isle of Man TT where they had. I was interested in the bikes going through, but I'm more interested in watching the sidecars. So as we going on in my life, I used to drag race many years ago, back in the 80s, and it was a Ford Capri Mark 1. I used to drag race and blow up.
Was this legal or illegal drag racing?
No, legal drag racing, Centre Pod Raceway in Northamptonshire, and it used to be a thing every month called Run What You Brung. So whatever you took, so that's what you took down the strip, which is brilliant. So you can have like an 850 Mini, you can have not a push bike, but it didn't matter what you had, as long as you enjoyed the fact that you had the experience of drag racing.
Yeah.
But I kind of took it up a notch. You know, every time I went down, I wanted to go faster. But the problem is, especially at that time, I didn't really have the money for racing. If I blew up a gearbox.
2 extra gigs that week.
Or no gigs that week, no car. You know what I mean? So you know, I always had this kind of confliction of racing and blowing things up, and then basically, if I did make any money for DJing, I was a scaffolder by trade at the time. It would all go back into my music, my records, or into my car. Yeah, I couldn't do both. Yeah. So eventually, I stopped the drag racing and not motorbike racing, but I was always on motorbikes. At the time, I started off with just out of school, 16 years old, had a bike from Yamaha called an FS1E, and a Fizzy for short. All my friends had Fizzies, and we would go around as a gang, 50cc, terrorising the neighbourhoods with our little 50cc bikes. But I used to ride pushies before that all the time. But as soon as an engine came onto a frame, sorry pushies, I'm out. And that was it for me. And then I went from a 50cc to a 125, and I went from 125 to 175 at a Yamaha DT 175, gorgeous bike, gold wheels, everything. You're up, kind of like a trials bike, and that was me. And I went from that to a sports bike, which I have one here called a Yamaha LC 250 and 350 LC. Yeah. So the 250 and 3 are both bikes, and these basically were widow makers. They were fun and not fun because they're fun because they're really, really fast and quick, and not fun if you couldn't control them.
Yeah.
And especially when we never really took those bikes on the track, we would do a lot of our riding on the road, and unfortunately a couple of friends of mine died on those bikes, and that was it. I was out from riding motorcycles from the 80s. But moving here to Australia in 2003, 2004, the first thing I wanted to do was get back on the ride on the motorcycle again. And then, all the friends that I have here, they're all petrol heads, and all got bloody race cars and stuff and street cars. I'm just like, this is great. So
you didn't have a choice in that
I fell right into the trap of it all.
Yeah.
Of all the things that I haven't done for years, because of course through the 80s into the 90s, my career really took off in '88.
Yeah.
So I wasn't interested in Ironman racing. I wasn't interested in riding motorcycles myself. I just wanted cars to get me to A to B, to get to the parties from A to B.
Yeah.
It took a little while to get to the car at the end of the day, of which I still have here today, actually, which is my Mercedes. It's called a 560 SEC, and big V8 two-door coupe, and all my cars are V8 two-door coupes. But I just needed a car to get me from A to B, which was going to be trouble-free.
Yeah.
So when I started making a bit of money, that was the car that I went and bought. In 1996, 95, 96, I bought that car.
Amazing.
And I still have it here. And I bought it to Australia. So that's for part of my heritage of when I started to become successful.
Yeah. And did you race touring cars or just drag cars? Or at what point did you start racing?
Yeah, so basically with me professional racing now here in Australia, it all started in 2012.
Yeah.
And again, one of the cars that I have here, we converted it from a touring car, which was is a Holden 1971 HG Premier, and everyone in Australia remembers these cars, as grocery getters, as your nan's car, whatever, And this was turned into a touring car, which raced at the Targa Tasmania in 2009. And then it got sold. A friend of mine told me about this car. I went to go and see it. I loved it. Twin headlights, old school, 4-door, but it just looked fantastic in its factory green colour, Monaro stripes down the thing, and I wanted an Aussie muscle car. That's what I wanted. And the Aussies love it. What I mean? Coxie and a Holden. It's all's good with the world.
Yeah.
And so I got this car, and it's got a straight 6-end. It had its original engine in, but had a bit of work done to it to give it a bit more pep. But it's still 4 on the floor, clutch and all that sort of stuff. It kind of drove like a bag of shit. Really. It wasn't the best handling car, but that's what they are. That's what it does. And as soon as I brought it back to my friends here who were into their V8s car, and they saw my car and they were like, "Oh, you bought a Holden ever?" I said, "Yeah." And they were like, they all know what it is, HG. I said, "Oh no, HK, HG. I'm sure it's one that you guys like." And they said, "It's still got its original engine." And I said, "Yeah, it's got a straight 6. It's got triple Webers on it. It's got a high lift cam, and it's got a skimmed head, and overboard pistons and all that." And they're like, "Yeah, that's coming out." I'm like, "What do you mean the engine's coming out?" Said, "Yeah, no, you don't want that." I said, "Yeah, I do want that because what makes the car go?" "Yeah, no, not quick enough. It's a snail." I'm like, "It's not a snail. It goes quite well." Anyway, I went away. I came back and it had a 440 small block Chevy engine in it, and it went from 220 horsepower up to 625 horsepower.
Oh
straight
shit!
Up. And then that's the first car that I drag raced once it had been all done. Now the car's gone through a bit of a transformation at the moment, and now it's sitting here with 2,000 horsepower in it.
2,000
single turbo.
Is that the fastest car you've been in? Or?
It will be. We haven't really taken it out at the moment from a street car perspective, but we're looking to run 7 seconds in that street car.
Shit. What's the fastest you've ever gone in a car?
Well, I started to really enjoy the aspect of getting back to drag racing again.
Yeah.
And now that I can afford to drag race, which is still very expensive, by the way, it's I love doing it. I really, for me, that's my vocation in my life, where I'm able to kind of kick back and go, right, the reason why I work so hard is because of this. Whee!
Yeah, the 6 seconds.
6 second passes. And, when I started racing cars as drag cars and doing a quarter mile passes, my first fastest pass was 17 seconds at 82 mile an hour.
Yeah.
So to go from that to 6.1 seconds at 234 mile an hour is a massive jump.
234, what's that in kilometres? Like, it's nearly 400 an hour nearly.
It's just under 400 k's here.
Yeah.
It's very, very fast. and it's in the shape of a thing called a Pro Mod. And a Pro Mod is these cars that they look like the cars that they were made, but they're stretched out because of the chassis and the engine plant that it has in the car. And when they roll out, and then you go, okay, this is something quite serious when they roll out. But I had to learn to drive the Pro Mod by driving the street cars first.
Yeah.
And then I bought a drag car in the shape of a Mark 1 Capri, which has an over 2,000 horsepower V8 engine in that, single turbo. And I got used to driving that car. So I got that car down from 8 seconds all the way down to 6.9 seconds at 200 mile an hour plus. And then to go from that car into the Pro Mod. Yeah. So it wasn't like it went from 70 seconds into this. Over the years, I did my apprenticeship completely in the realms of the drag cars that I've had. So I like it. I mean, I don't play golf. I don't horse ride. I don't do any of those things. But it's actually quite unorthodox for a DJ to jump into a drag car.
Like on that note, how do you think the rush compares to, say, for example, racing in a drag car versus playing in front of 10,000 people at Space on the closing party? Are they comparable?
They're not really comparable, but I think that the satisfaction that I get is probably the same. Yeah. Because the thing is, when you're in a drag car, you are on your own. Yeah. Once you're in that car and it's you and the lights and it's you against time. So it kind of slows down everything to the point when you let the button go to leave, and then that's all you. Yeah. Or that's all me. And I've got to basically keep it off the driver, keep it off the centre line, and keep it off the wall for that 6 seconds at over 200 miles an hour. Yeah, yeah. And then to slow that car down for 200 miles an hour, when you pull the parachutes, the G-force is at least four Gs that pulls you back to slow you down, and you hit the brake just so you stabilise the car, so you just roll out down the other end. That's really exhilarating. Yeah. But when you're in the mix of a record and you've got 10,000, 20,000 people in front of you, and you can feel the energy building up, and you just kind of drop that record, bang, anyone's going mad about it, because you created those moments. That is some feeling, at the end of the day. And I don't always look for that feeling. It's just that if you're creating something really unique and not planned or whatever, and you find yourself in that moment, and then there's nothing that can beat that either.
Totally. There's obviously, with the drag car thing, I mean, there's clearly a part of you that loves like adrenaline. Is there any other sports or anything that you want to tick off the list that you haven't touched yet from an adrenaline point of view?
Yeah, I mean, I always wanted to skydive.
Really?
Yeah.
But you should do it, man.
But I'm a bit too heavy, so I'll be like a stone. You've got to be 100 kilos, and I'm a bit more than that. Yeah. So if I went to skydiving, the pull the chutes, I'd just keep going. Yeah. They don't want that. So if I lost a few kilos, then maybe I could do that. But skydiving, jumping out of a plane, I wouldn't mind doing that. I went over to New Zealand, to Queenstown, and I was there for a part of the tourism, New Zealand tourism group, and me as a so-called celebrity, they wanted me to kind of enjoy the extreme sports of being
that's like the adventure sports capital of the Southern Hemisphere, right?
Oh yeah, and they wanted me to check out what it was like to do some of this stuff. So I went out on a dirt bike and went across all the remarkable mountain ranges there, which are just amazing. And then going out the quads, going out on dirt bikes, did all of that. But I did say there's all this list of things to do. I said, look, there's one thing I'm not doing, and that's bungee jumping. I don't want anything to do with bungee. Okay, cut that out. Yeah, no worries. And then one morning we woke up and said, right, we're going bungee jumping. I'm like, no, we're not. I was like, you can't be kidding me. So they got this one jump called Nevis.
I've done it.
You've done Nevis, yeah. I didn't do Nevis. I was just like that when I went past it. I mean, you know what it's like to jump off, and the whole fear factor of it, I think, goes away once you've done it.
There's an 8-second free fall with that. Like 8 seconds before you feel the rope.
That's a lifetime.
Yeah.
But what I did do was a thing called the canyon swing.
Oh, it's the same thing, pretty much. Yeah. How was that?
So I'm like, okay. So I've got a group of people with me, about 12 people. I said, right. I'm going first. I get this, just get this out of the way. You know what I mean? Anyway, so I had this helmet on with this bloody camera like an elephant's trunk with a GoPro, so it's right in my face like this, recording flash, and then they record you going down. So they said, how do you want to go down? I said, I don't really care. I just want to get this over with. I said, oh, how about if you go around backwards?
Yeah.
I was like, oh, okay, whatever, backwards. So they got me going down backwards, and they're all linking me up and everything, and I'm standing on the edge like that, and they've got hold of me like that, and one of them goes, whoa, we got you, we didn't quite do that one up. And I'm just like, stop me. And they go, oh, no, we done it again. And I'm just thinking, oh my God, And then
your heart must have been.
It was like, brrr. And then the next thing, the guy, guys, you ready? What's going on? He said, oh yeah, we're ready, and then let me go.
Yeah.
And on the way down, I'm like, yeah. He just swear words.
Slow motion.
Just coming out. I'm like, I'm going to die. I'm going to kill you two first. I was all going down. There's a video of it. And then you get onto the bungee, you go, bagong, and you just go, whoosh, and you just go, across the canyon, and I was like, yippee! And I went, wee, the other way, and I was like, whoosh! I was like, this is fantastic! Really like, oh, I'm A of my life. And so they pulled me back up. I said, that was really good. He said, yeah, well, you need to do another one. I said, no, you don't. Yeah, this requirement. Okay, so how do you want to go down this time? Well, now that I know what it feels like, I said, I'll go down head first.
Yeah.
So they put you on this gable sort of thing going across. So you get upside down and strap you up under your groin and everything, and you go out like this, and then literally you have a cable that they pull and they go,
and you just drop you.
You go, you go straight down towards it, and again you get on the bungee.
All your organs just up through your body.
Oh my God! You go wee, you go this way and wee that way. It was such fun. I'm very, very happy to have done it.
When was that? When did you do that?
Oh my God! I mean that has to be probably about 12 years ago.
Yeah,
It was quite a while ago once I did that, because I was always going to New Zealand to ride toured motorcycles around New Zealand, and that was one of the reasons why I ended up in New Zealand. I actually do love being in New Zealand, and I bought a house in a place called Picton on the South Island. Yeah. So we would take our motorbikes and then we use it as central base, and then we go tour around the island.
Are you planning to get there this year to New Zealand at all?
I've been trying to get there to New Zealand since March, and and then we nearly had the ability to go not long ago, and then they obviously closed it off again. As soon as I get to New Zealand, I'm there. I've got some race cars there, and I'll do circuit racing. Once I'm there, and the hill climb racing as well. I love being in New Zealand, man. It's much as I love Australia, New Zealand for me is a fantastic place to be. So
you got back this year. You came back from America in March, is that right? Did you have to quarantine when you came back?
Straight up, yeah. We kind of missed it by not quarantining by one day.
Yeah. Oh
so the day if we came the day before, come home, no quarantine.
Yeah, right.
The day after, when everyone started freaking out, when the cruise ship came in and everything, and then they said, right, everyone's self-quarantine, but they were self-quarantine at a hotel. Yeah. So I missed that bit. Well, I didn't miss that bit. It's just that I came in when they said, when you go home, self-quarantine. Yeah. So my maddest thing that I had when I got back into the country is that the paparazzi was on me, knowing that I come back from a tour, and they were asking, as well, and they were asking me what was going on, and I was like, well, Donald Trump's, he cut everyone off, and we just managed to escape. But even at that particular point in time, I had some fans that were around, and I said, "Oh, Carl Cox, can we get a picture?" Yeah. I'm like, "Yeah, no worries." Picture. Social distancing, anyone? Mask,
yeah, of course.
Didn't have any of that. So, in the Herald Sun next week, Carl Cox turns up. No, take a picture with fans, and I'm like, "Oh my God, no!" So anyway, it was pretty calm down at that particular time. Got back to the house. We quarantined, and but I couldn't leave the house or anything, because as soon as if you my car's out there with my plate, you can see it's me. Yeah. They'd be like, Carl Cox is not quarantined, and it just would have been a whole mess. So I really did hide from everybody until for 2 weeks, and then they were kind of getting a handle on what was going on with the COVID, but not really. So they had one day where everyone was like, yeah, no worries, you can do what you like. I think I was sitting there on Sunday, lockdown. Yeah. So that was it. So from that point on until 2 weeks ago, we've been living in COVID times.
Totally. How did you cope with the mental stress of quarantine? Were you okay with it, or?
I don't think anyone's okay with it. Yeah. I mean, for me, people have always seen me outdoors, out of my house, in a hotel somewhere, staying with friends, being in England, being in Spain, being in Italy, being in France, Germany. My life is like being out and being out and around. And now be told to stay indoors was kind of like, my mum told me to stay indoors when I was 14.
Yeah,
you know what I
yeah.
mean? And I'm of a certain age now, and it's like, now I've been told to stay indoors.
Yeah.
It's like, and we really can't go anywhere. This is, a pandemic. This is
Yeah.
very, very serious. This is no movie of which you can see on Netflix or
Yeah.
a certain breakout and all sorts of things that on all these movies. We're living in real times with this, and how every individual deals with it. Now, I was away from my family, from the UK, away from my friends. Unfortunately, my father, he died through pandemic times, not through COVID, but he'd been dealing with dementia for quite a few years, and I actually went to go and see him in December, because he was taken ill a bit more, and I haven't been able to speak to my dad for maybe 6 or 7 years. He doesn't even know who I am. When he got dementia, this was a very difficult thing. But he's alive,
Yeah.
But then when I went to see him, he was very frail, very, very skinny. It looked like he was going to go round about, maybe the 1st of January. So I went over there, done all the funeral arrangements, everything that goes with it, and he wasn't sure when he was going to go. So we always had this thing nearly every day, we're going to get the phone call, and then he was eating, and he was getting upright, and he was kind of like, he's in his eyes, looks like he could do another 2 more years. I think, how does that work out?
Yeah.
I go all the way over there, thought he was on his deathbed. Now he's eating, you can see in his joys in his eye, and I'm just like, he ain't getting down without a fight.
Yeah.
Well, man, so anyway, I could tell he was going up and down, and they were telling us, now he's on gas, now he's kind of eating, now he's on gas. And I'm just thinking, this is just so tough, also almost waiting for my dad to pass over. Excuse me. And then it happened, in my birthday month as well, 12th of July. And then we can't go and see him, can't leave the country. And even for compassionate reasons, they would let me go in Australia, but probably in Barbados, they weren't letting anyone go into Barbados because of the pandemic and everything.
So was he back in Barbados?
So he was in Barbados, and the mad thing for me, to be in Barbados, to leave here to go and see him and to be there for his funeral, I would have had to basically go into some quarantine situations. It would have taken me ages to get there. 3 flights, one from here, from Melbourne.
Also, with Australia, if you leave Australia, you can't come back for 3 months minimum now. So it's like you've got a quarantine for 2 weeks either side, plus a 3-month minimum being away. So
if I would have gone, I wouldn't be here today.
Yeah.
And not for any selfish reason. It's just that for me, I didn't want to bring anything back if I was gone out there, and not only because I'm not an Australian citizen, that means I would have had to go back to the UK.
Yeah.
And everything that I've done here so far in Australia, with my streaming shows and that, I wouldn't have been able to do what I was back in the UK as well. So it was really difficult decision to make, but it was kind of like the right one based on my other family, my sisters and my niece, Rihanna and Pamela and Andrea. They went over there and they were physically there to do the final funeral and the procession and the service and everything that goes with it. Now, the only way that I could see it was through YouTube.
Yeah.
I'm like, streaming show. It's like streams. So I do all these positive streams for everyone else.
Yeah.
And this stream is about watching my father's.
Not how you imagine burying your father.
No, seriously, not in this time. So, a minute ago, I'm touring America. All the gigs are sold out. Everyone's having a great time. Looking forward to doing the Ultra Music Festival like always. All of this, and then it just all got, basically the rug got pulled underneath me, and the industry is fallen off the side of a cliff, the whole lot. I'm like, okay, well, we'll get through this, but this scenario, how I deal with this with my father, I'm just like, this is really, really weird. So anyway, tuned in. It was 8 o'clock in the evening. I was in the room myself, on my own. I had a G&T, and I was just waiting for it to start, and it started. I could see him, I could see my sisters, and my sister did a eulogy for my father. I did the eulogy for my mother 4 years ago, and I know how hard it is to do one of those, and to get it across to everyone. And I watched my sister do it, and she just had me in tears, and she completely stepped up based on what she knew she had to do, because I remember when my mum passed, and here's me and my 2 sisters and my niece. They said, and the guy at the funeral home goes, okay, well, someone has to do a eulogy. And all 3 of us said, I'm not doing it. I'm like, Oh,
Yeah,
thanks.
Yeah, because you're shy.
I'm not doing it. They said outright, we can't do it.
Yeah.
Emotionally, I'm like, okay. So I sat there, wrote out, all the great things about my mum and everything and how I grew up and this sort of stuff. And then I had to read it out to, some people I knew, a lot I didn't know. I made a little joke in there where my mum always used to tell me to turn it down in a Bajan accent with the music I always played. And that kind of lightened the mood a little bit, but it's a bit of what my mum was like and how I grew up. So I know what it's like with my sister and when I was watching it, but I couldn't physically be there,
Yeah.
So I'm literally kind of touching the TV with my sisters, my dad was there and everything. I was just like, I just cannot believe
Yeah.
this. This is, apart from my career and my health and my life, the way that it's gone, to deal with something like that. But the only way I got through it, in some ways, is the music.
Yeah.
The idea that my father and my mother would want me to carry on the Cox family name based on how happy I make people feel with my music. Yeah. And where we are right now, I did an hour and a half of playing music and a tribute to my father.
That's right.
So his music that I played here and I'll stream that was
like soul and funk.
Yeah.
That's right.
It was a bit of Elvis Presley in there, all sorts of amazing things that my dad basically bought the music and played all the time, and that's probably one of the hardest sets I've ever had to do.
Yeah,
it was a tribute to my father, but also what was amazing that we were connected to the Prime Minister of Barbados.
Yeah.
Her name's Mia Motley, and we had her here on the TV talking to me and her about my father. Amazing. And she's had condolences from Barbados and from her to me, and she was basically saying about when you come to Barbados, and you obviously welcome here with open arms and all this sort of stuff, and if you want to make a party here, well, I could make it. It's a Prime Minister, and I'm talking to him like this, I'm thinking, now I'm talking to the Prime Minister of Barbados, oh my God. I mean, my mum and dad, if they were alive, they'd be very proud of me in that way, being able to reach out to someone of such a nature. But because of the music, it's brought us together in that way. Yeah. So,
and Barbados has got such a cultural heritage with being so musical, and it's always such a passionate place for music as well.
Yeah, and that's why I carry the sword for it, the torch for it. Yeah. So it's really, it makes of something of you who you are, and the strength of who you are in some ways. If you're able to understand where we are, what we're doing, and how it's making other people feel. Because the week after my father, I had to kind of get back onto where I am. But I thanked everybody and for tuning in. And it was amazing because it was really watched by a lot of people. Yeah. And even though it may not be the music that you know or like, or even was born when it came out, they can understand the passion and where the music comes from, which is my father. Yeah. Because I was exposed to the music that he bought and played, and I played his music to his family and friends over the years, and that in some ways got me to be the person and the DJ that I am.
Amazing. Yeah, it sounds like you've taken obviously what was like a terrible experience and having to lay your father to rest via YouTube and turned it into something really positive.
Yeah, it's I don't think most people could have handled that, to be honest. And I know they're still not handling it because obviously we've had so many deaths through COVID-19 as well, and I know what it's like to lose somebody so close, especially a parent. So I feel sorry for all those that have lost also loved ones through this as well. Yeah. This is no joke, and it's not supposed to be seen as something that's just going to pass. We are living in these times based on how we live, how we live it, and how we support others by what we do. I'm hoping that based on how I got through all of this, also gets people to understand how important it is to not just comply, but just to understand where we are and what we're doing, and for us to get to where we are here in Melbourne, Australia, especially Victoria, to have 0 cases and 0 deaths after 28 days.
Unbelievable.
It just shows you what we can all do together in the end of the day. And even if you didn't like it to begin with, now people understand that poor old Dan, who's going to get it in the neck at some point. But someone had to lead the country. Someone had to make a decision. If it wasn't Dan, it would have been someone else. Yeah. And if they made the decision, they would have been witch hunted and headhunted, based on the decisions as well, he or she. So I don't think it's the worst thing that could have happened for us, because we've seen a light at the end of the tunnel. But my journey of all of this has been the worst it could possibly be, but also the most positive it can be with the outcome of what I've done to make people happy, especially through my cabin fever shows.
Amazing. And Carl, that probably wasn't the only challenge you had this year, because I'm aware that you were probably like, you could call like a little bit of a victim of a social media campaign that went a bit pear-shaped. Do you want to tell us about what happened this year? And like, yeah, it was. I know you were portrayed in probably not a favourable light over a tour manager incident, and it was actually nothing could be further from the truth in regards to how you treat your tour manager. He's one of your best friends. You really look after him, and do you want to just tell us your side of the story and what happened?
Yeah, I mean the thing is, the person that highlighted the whole thing to begin with, and he decided to make like a shock kind of revelation for his own YouTube channel. And he decided,
like clickbait.
Yeah, he decided to really create something or a narrative towards successful big name DJs. He really had some sort of angle to kind of expose us in
like a witch hunt.
Yeah, to see what we really like as people. The worst part about it was, for me, is that the person that did this, and I will name him,
yeah.
But I worked with him for 15 years under a record company, a radio company, company called Radio Department, and I worked with them for 15 years, making my global shows with them, and basically the shows, if you sold the shows, would be probably about €1,000 or €2,000 or maybe pounds per show to each individual country, to each individual terrestrial radio station. This company basically sells those shows into them, and then they use their shows. They got Carl Cox exclusive as a broadcast, and I did over 700 2-hour shows with them. So he knows what I'm like as a person. I'm a very giving person. One of the reasons why I stopped working with them was because I used to charge them £50 per show, just so they can help their company grow, which they have done. And then he asked me to waiver the £50 because he was saying that some of the radio stations didn't want to pay any more money to these shows, and could be doing it for nothing. I said no, because it takes a day and a half to give them what they need to have a 2-hour show. And I did that respectively for 15 years. So I'm like, okay. So what happened was Ian, my tour manager, he asked me to make a small video. It was right here as well. He said, can you just, smile and say, can you donate here for my tour managers? And I never really thought anything of it, because these guys can actually DJ themselves. They're closet DJs.
Yeah.
But what they were asking for was they were having a bit of fun, and the fun was that they made a mix, of which if you wanted to, you could pay $5 or €5 for it, and then you get this mix. I don't know exactly how it was all going down. I should have realised that I should have intervened in some ways, but the thing is, they're all grown men. They're tour managers. These are the guys that basically make sure that we get on, to the church on time. Sort of stuff, right? So I didn't have any reason to question what they were doing, but it was all coming from my management and my promotional team, based on the ethos or the ethics of it. But if I had seen what was going on, I would have said, I cannot do this, because it would put us in a bad light, in the sense of that you're asking for money of which we should be basically supporting you on. So there's no need for you to go up and ask the public to pay $5, for something which we should be looking after. So I understand that. So there's me, Seth Troxler, Dubfire, Joseph Caparazzi, Nico Madalba, the list goes on, and all these tour managers, all the guys, that they all came together, and they all done this as a collective. So I saw this going up, and $5, and nobody really said anything about it. It just said, oh well, that's what they're doing. And then, this guy decides to edit the video for his own kind of shock jock purposes, which was shocking.
Yeah. I
only saw it on a Tuesday morning, I think it was. I was at a friend's, and I woke up and I just saw this thread just going like this. I looked at it, and he's on there, and I was just like, what the hell is this?
Yeah.
And I had DJ Cassie, she was really sticking it to me. Dave Clark, he was sticking it to me. Maceo Plex, All my peers are sticking it to me based on that I was supposed to be a billionaire DJ that's not looking after my tour manager, and I'm asking the public to pay for him.
Yeah.
That was it, you know. And so he's how dare that Carl Cox is asking us for money when we're in the, you know, now pandemic times. He's earned all this money from us, and you know, it just got completely taken out of context. And then to the point where, I mean, all the other, you know, DJs were getting also a lot of stick, but nowhere near as much as what I was getting. And Ian, unfortunately, you know, knew that the way how it was going was wrong, and the only one that could fix it was Ian, to go back out with the tour manager and say what we did was wrong. We was ignorant to the fact that actually Carl does look after me very, very well. And has been, even through this pandemic, he still gets paid. But the thing is about it is, you know, I was taken completely out of context with the whole thing. Yeah. And so anytime I was sticking my head above the parapet or anything like that, the hate that I got from it was just unbelievable. And I just can't believe that people could just turn like that on something that they didn't understand. And then I got my peers actually sticking it to me as well. And I was just like, but you know me better than that. So when Dubfire spoke to Cassie said, I don't care about, you know, what you're telling me. At the end of the day, you're not taking care of your tour managers. I don't really want to know you. Dubfire was like, but I had dinner with you like a month ago and you was absolutely fine.
And I'm sure, Carl, there was an element of like, before these guys went out in public, like, do you want to pick up the phone and ask me what my version of this event is before you go? You know me so well, like, yeah,
you would think so, and they just didn't do it. The only person that's actually retracted and felt sorry by what he had done because he didn't truly understand it. And when I told him about the story of radio department and the guy that I was working with, and his name is John Askew, he couldn't believe it. He was like, I'm so sorry, you know. And he put it in an email, and I was on the phone to him. I said, don't worry. I said, you're the only person, this Maceo Plex, has come back and truly understood what had happened to me, and he felt sorry by all the crap that I had to endure. I was still getting a couple of people that say, oh, pay your tour manager. And I just think if you're sounding really stupid now, is because if anyone knows me, they know that, you know, he's taken care of more than you're probably taken care of at the moment. And I wouldn't do that. That's not in my nature or my character to be that type of person. So it took a little while, and I was also quite gutted because, you know, a lot of charity things were happening through streaming, and I wasn't able to get behind them because everyone was thinking that I was basically making more money myself out of being involved in a charity, which was not true whatsoever. But eventually I've stuck my head across the parapet. I got a bit of crap initially, but then it started calming down, and now no one says a word about it anymore. They now realise that it was all bullshit by what had happened.
I think as well, Carol, you know, there's a good lesson as well in that, like, not a lesson, but like probably development in how to deal with social media, because the vitriol on social media, I mean, you're someone who has got an incredible reputation in our industry for being nice and warm, and you do, like, I mean, this year alone, I think I've seen you do like 5 or 6 streams for, like, you know, the Lebanese appeal, the London Children's Hospital, the food program. I mean, I could go on. The list is endless, but like everybody just like turns a blind eye to this stuff over like a 4-second video clip, not understanding the context of it. It's, you know, it was quite, how did you find dealing with all the social media element to it? Did it kick you into a hole, do you reckon?
Yeah, I stayed off for 2 weeks. I was just you know, I was gutted. You know, because I've always used social media for good, not evil. You know what I mean? And but then it really shows how evil people can be. Also, once something like that happens, you know, it's kind of like the inevitable chink in the armor, and then they just went for it and just stuck the knife in. And you know, obviously many people don't actually know who I am as a person. They only know the perception of it. And there's got to be something wrong with him. Ah, there it is. You know, and I really copped it. You know, every day I just felt gutted that I'm not able to reach out to you know, people as a whole, you know, based on how I have been in the past. And I mean, I sit here now, you know, with this pandemic and everything, and the Cabin Fever show started just because I thought about other people, not myself, about the reasons why I'm doing these shows. Because I don't have to do any of them, you know, at all. But all this vinyl that's sitting here, and and they have been sitting there for many years. I just felt now is a really good time to get people to understand where I come from.
Yeah.
So I'm playing hip hop, jazz funk, I'm playing soul music,
Yeah.
I'm playing Latin jazz, I'm playing hard techno, rave. It's all here, all the music history. And every week is something different. And that was really supporting other people to, you know, in their lives and have something to look forward to. For me not to be involved in social media on that level would have been very, very sad. You know, every time I go up and say something, and then every time somebody says something derogatory, and it just makes you go back insular again. I felt like I was in a part of the Social Dilemma movie.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? On how that made you, how that's the perception on how the social media controls you in some ways. I didn't feel controlled, but I did feel let down by how the people's attitudes towards what they didn't know.
Yeah.
So, but now they know. I had to push through all of that emotionally, and then to get to a place where I'm not going to let this beat me.
Yeah.
And people need to know that I'm doing this for the right reasons. So today I'm sitting here with I've recorded probably over 70 streams.
Yeah, amazing.
70, and 36 of them is live shows for Cabin Fever.
Yeah.
You know, and still making show 37 today. So tomorrow, actually.
Good on you, mate. It's like you're just continually injecting positivity into people's lives, and it must have been hard during that period to kind of the first live stream back after that, because you don't know if there's still going to be idiots on social media just looking to stick the dagger in, you know. Yeah,
and it was the first time when we had, you know, two admins. So as soon as anything went out about tour manager, off he goes, off he goes. And then it started to the balance between, you know, the positive over the negative.
Yeah.
But some people, man, are so evil and mean. It's just like, whoa.
Yeah.
I started getting memes and dickheads on my forehead and all sorts of stuff.
Yeah.
And I was like, wow. I would never do that to anyone.
Yeah.
I'd have to find out first on the facts of what it entailed, and then take my view from there. If I was able to do that, and then people would have a different understanding of what actually happened. And this is probably the first time I've spoken about it to anyone.
Yeah.
I haven't really, because as soon as you put yourself in that arena, people have their own opinions, but I just didn't want to rip off that band-aid again, you know what I mean?
Of course.
Of emotions, because it was just like hard enough to get past it to begin with.
Yeah.
But to be able to do what I do now today, and to do like Set for Love, which we did last night at DJ Save My Life Foundation, if I had done that in the same time, in fact, I couldn't do that when it was happening.
Yeah.
I said, look, if I go on there to do this for you guys, you're going to get the worst attention. So let's do the next one. And when I did the next one, I got a couple of stupid messages, but the rest of it was all positive.
Amazing.
And now, since then, I'm able to do whatever I like on social media.
Yeah.
You're always going to get the haters. You're always going to get people that are jealous and upset with you, my success, whatever. But that's how they're feeling, not how I'm feeling. I've gone through the same amount of anguish and dismay and you know, about my industry, about my life, you know, with my family, and as much as anyone. But this is the one way of being able to give back to people, to give me the strength to carry on doing what I'm doing.
Amazing. You mentioned there you took a break from social media, like for a couple of weeks after that happened. When was the last time you had a break from social media before that? Or is it something you ever think about doing, like even like a couple of days at a time? I'm guessing with your job, you have to be on all the time.
Well, since 2016, when I split with my manager, Lynn Cosgrave, I always had a social media team, and I just had my personal one with friends.
Yeah.
So I didn't really need to worry about that too much initially. But since I split with her and everything, I started managing myself. It's very important for me to control what's going on there, understand, you know, what Twitter does and how it gets to people, and Instagram, and you know, I'm not on all of them. I'm not on TikTok. I'm not on all of them. It's impossible to me to sit here in social media, because that would just literally do your head in. So I concentrate on Facebook.
Yeah.
I concentrate on my Facebook, Carl Cox Motorsports Facebook.
Yeah.
And we basically just share whatever I do on Facebook to Instagram, and Instagram to Twitter.
Yeah. Awesome.
That's it.
Yeah.
Most people get on Twitter and go, "Wah!" I don't. I just not interested. You know, Twitter nonsense. TikTok. That's actually not a bad platform to get onto, but it's another platform.
Yeah.
I don't need
another
to get
distraction.
onto I don't need to really get onto TikTok. Yeah. So this is enough for me at the end of the day. But because I do personally run Carl Cox Facebook official, the fan page on that one. It's always good that it comes from me to the fans rather than through some admin or someone's speaking on my behalf, and that seems to work really well.
Yeah, cool. It sounds like you've obviously, there's been a few challenges for you in 2020, but you're coming out the other end like pretty positive out of it all. What are you looking forward to most when we come out the other end of this whole challenge we're going through at the moment?
I think we're all going to become. I think we're going to be better people.
Yeah.
And once we start to meet each other again, of understanding of what we've all gone through in some ways, and have our stories about how did you handle it?
Yeah.
What did you do? I mean, I'm on the phone to a lot of my friends that are in isolation and are at home alone, and there's only so much Netflix you can watch and that sort of stuff, where they want some human interaction and that kind of thing, and how they get through it. I mean, there's a lot of depressed people out there as well, based on that. They don't know how they're going to get out of this ideal, no job, no friends, no girlfriends or boyfriends. They've got no children to support, or if they do have children, they're doing your head in. You know what I mean? There's so much stuff going on. It's just when you have just a natural conversation with your friend, to have a glass of wine or a beer or something, these are the sort of things I'm really looking forward to in the end, to get back to some sort of mindset normality of how we continue in our life to be happy.
Yeah.
And just having a party isn't good enough. I think socially, as human beings, I think this is where we get our strengths back again. And then if we're going to end up at that party, and then we're going to make the best out of it. Yeah. Not like, I'll go to that party next week. Don't worry, I'll see that DJ tomorrow. No, you won't. Yeah, you're going to party right now. You're going to see that DJ this instant. So it's. I think you're going to see a lot more positiveness, a lot more people doing things right now.
Yeah.
Don't leave it, because the thing about this pandemic, when it all happened, it happened like that.
Yeah.
One day I was playing, next day I'm on a flight back to Melbourne, Australia, and I'm going to get locked down.
Yeah.
And then locked down for 5 to 6 months. Yeah. Bloody hell, who saw that coming? No one, And then how you deal with all of that.
Yeah.
So, I when it first happened, I was having quite a lot of interviews with magazines and that. And so, what you doing? You're going to come back and play in IB for this summer? I'm like, no. I said, what do you mean no? Can't be more positive? I said, we are in one of the worst pandemics we're ever going to enjoy in our life, and it ain't going to just snap out of it over. We're not going to be in amnesia or passion. We're not going to be rocking out this year. Oh, what do you mean? It will be there. It will be. I said, it just won't. Nobody believed me. Yeah. Nobody. And then of course, lockdown, clubs closed, nothing's happening. Our beef was shut. Ding ding. I said, what do you want me to tell you? And then I said, when are you coming back? And I said, well, probably April or May. 2021. What do you mean? Can't come back? Well, it's still going to continue into the new year. I might not be able to leave here at the moment as well, to go back to England. If I do, I can't come back. I normally would have left it in March to go home anyway, but there's going to be no events for me to play in America, because all these big events that I used to do are all gone. Yeah. And that means it might be a year since I've been able to leave to go anywhere. Yeah. But I did say that I would leave to go back to see my family and friends at least by the end of May. Yeah, yeah. So I'm just going to dig in. Yeah. Stay and dig in, enjoy being here all the way through until then. And when I get to Europe and I'll see my family and friends, I'm going to be very, very happy to see them, of course.
Have you kept in contact with your sisters and your niece and nephew much?
Yeah, all the time. I mean, they miss me, of course, and I miss them, because I always see them every year. Yeah. I want to go back and everything. But this year, one, I've seen them, and it's hard to just see them on Facebook and on WhatsApp and everything, because you can see the emotion between ourselves, because we're just not together or haven't been. But it's good to see that they're well and they're kind of happy in the position that they're in at the moment. Brilliant. And they're getting on with it. Yeah,
good on you. And I think one of the things we always do when we wrap up the podcast is I've got a little segment called Secrets from the Other Half, where I talk to someone close about the artist I'm interviewing and ask them a bit of an interesting question. Is it true that you used to be a bit of a fanatical Neighbours fan when you were younger, and
yes.
that was a factor in how you're living here?
Yeah, it was. Yeah, I was expecting that. Harold and Madge and Toadfish, and I was.
You're living the dream now.
Yeah, I used to come home from school to watch Neighbours. Yeah, and Jason Donovan and Guy Pearce and all those guys and Robinson, Paul Robinson, and all of them. it was kind of mad to watch that. But I used to watch the Sullivans as well, Australian. And anything Australian I used to just watch. I don't know why. I was always gravitated to anything. Skippy.
Yeah.
Just
awesome.
Skippy the bush kangaroo.
Yeah.
He couldn't talk, but he all knew what he was trying to say.
Exactly.
But yeah, I've always been drawn to anything Australian. And then Mad Max came out. You couldn't get no more Australian than that.
Down Geelong, I'm sure you've ripped down there in the bikes, have you? Yeah.
Absolutely, yeah. It's fantastic.
Wicked. Last question. Are there any gigs that are on your bucket list that you haven't played? You've said now that, people are just going to they're going to seize the moment when we come out of this in case we have something like this. You've had your career's just like, you've ticked every box. Is there anything you've left on the DJ front that you want to check off the list?
Yeah, the moon. I want to go to the moon, and I want to go up there, and then basically give that a bit of a blast. I mean, I've been around the planet many, many times, and I cannot think of anywhere that I haven't been now that I would like to play. And I think the one that's uninhabited at the moment, but I reckon it could do with a good party, is on the moon. So there's been aspirations of me going up there anyway to do something. So I don't think it's too far reaching. There's a space station up there somewhere that has a nice dance floor and some good sound system up there. I'm sure.
Amazing.
So yeah,
no sound restrictions anyway.
Get me up there. Let me get me out of here. The moon, I reckon, is my next destination.
Good stuff. Well, Carl, look, thanks so much for coming on the Raising the Vibration podcast. I mean, we always end up talking to the artist about how they're raising the vibration in 2020, but your continual output of like music and live streams for like other causes as well has just been so inspirational, and just positive vibes all around, man. You're always like the most happy camper and spreading the message and spreading the love. Just, I think your fans really need it at this time, and we hope the cabin fever stuff keeps coming, because it's really keeping a lot of people motivated and positive. And
it is, and I really do enjoy sharing the love of music, and especially through vinyl. Because what's really nice for me is that this is my life history of all the music that I've collated over the years. And when I do all these cabin fevers, it's like the first time I heard these records again. And that's why I'm so excited by it. But nobody's really seen me play on turntables for years as well. So when they see me on turntables and mixing them, I go, there we know why he's where he is.
And just the last thing, we're obviously, there's a group of us doing a run next week, which you've been totally very supportive of. And there's actually, I'll let you tell your story about how your cataract surgery and the effect that's had for you.
Yeah, through all of this pandemic, my cataracts was failing. It was getting worse and worse and worse. And as we was talking before about my driving racing efforts, you really need to do your sight to be able to know where you're going, at least, with everything that's happening. And it's just funny. It's just for a month in or 2 months into the pandemic regime, my eyes was just failing. I was kind of driving back from the studio back home, just doing that. The glare of the other lights and that kind of stuff was really bothering and disturbing me. So I went to go to an eye specialist and said, your cataracts are failing. The only way you can fix them is by having surgery and having lenses put into my corneas, and then, and they'll heal up after some certain time, and then you'll be fine. I'm like, I hate anything to do with my eyes at all. I can't even put optics in my eyes. It's the most difficult thing. It's quite funny, because I went to the eye specialist yesterday for a checkup, and he said, your eyes are fine, everything's really good. And I said to the lady there, I said, I can't even believe I had this done, because I hate anything put into my eye, even optics. So she goes, go and find the program of Friends where Jennifer Aniston also doesn't like to have anything to do with her eyes. Go find it. And I found it yesterday, and everything that she was doing is everything that I was, trying to put optics in her eyes, and she's like not having any of it at all. And they all had to physically hold her down, and they just sprayed it over her face. And they kept her eyes open. I was like, that's me right there. So there's a program about the phobia of what I had to go through. And what made it even worse for me is that I had a surgery on my right eye on my birthday, the 29th of July. And I couldn't believe it. I said, can I get out of that date? I said, no, because if you go a week later, you're going to have another COVID check. Which I didn't want to do. I wanted to have that COVID check once. So I had to have the left eye on the 22nd and the right eye on the 29th. So I woke up, happy birthday to me. eye surgery.
Yeah, right.
But since I've had it done, it's been fantastic. I'm wearing these glasses here. I don't need to wear them, actually, because now they've been corrected in a way. But I can see everything from afar. But on a distance, it's a little bit difficult. So I wear these glasses. They're only lenses. They're not corrective lenses in any way, shape, or form. But they do really help for if I'm reading my mobile phone or I'm watching the screen when I'm working. And then I put these on. But also, I like wearing glasses still. So
makes you look smart.
So, yeah, it makes me look much smarter. So they go back on.
Well, yeah, look, thanks for all your support because, you know, obviously we're trying to raise as much money as we can, the electronic music community in Melbourne, and we're obviously doing this event, and it's $25 can restore the gift of sight, which is like just such an unbelievable achievement for such a small amount of money. So thanks for your time today. Thanks for your support during the run, and stay positive, my man.
I will do.
Cheers, bro.
Thanks very much.